When you think of the Caribbean, surfing is the last thing that might come to mind, if it does any at all. These islands are more popularly known for their music and food and for having calm seas. While when you think of surfing, you think about 10-foot high waves all day long. Despite this popular belief, there are islands within the Caribbean that have a thriving surfing community. Jamaica is one of those islands.
Well, really we don't know how far back it goes. The earliest reference we have to anything surf related in Jamaica was in a Jamaica Tourism Association visitors handbook that mentioned surf bathing being offered by, I think it was one of the hotels down on the waterfront. And that handbook was published in 1912. So that's the earliest reference we have to anything surfing in Jamaica. But then the popular resurgence and revival, should we say, of surfing in Jamaica took place about the mid-1960s.
The small but popular island of Jamaica is often overlooked as a spot for surf lovers due to its location in the middle of the tranquil Caribbean Sea. Surprisingly, Jamaica is home to quite a few hidden surfing gems on the southern coast of the island and an 8-month-long surf season. With the growing popularity of the sport at this stage, surfers saw the potential the sport had and decided to form the Jamaica Surfing Association.
Well, it's the national governing body for the sport of surfing in Jamaica, official national governing body, and we are members of the Jamaica Olympic Association and the International Surfing Association, as well as the Pan American Surfing Association. So we're a representative body for athletes pursuing the sport of surfing at whichever level we can assist.
When we wrote up the memorandum of association, there were several objects in the memorandum. Some included just the kind of the general awareness of the sport, the growth of the sport, publicity. Other parts of the memorandum, the objects would have included education and the environment. Other aspects would have been commercial aspects, but in general, to try to get the sport acknowledged as such. And it wasn't just about surfing, that's the important thing.
The surfers thought that as a collective, they could have a greater impact on designating locations for surfing and in developing recognition that the water sport is a living and vibrant sport in Jamaica. They also wanted to become more associated with each other, recruit members, and grow the sport.
I introduced surfing to my children, and they got involved and they loved it. And they didn't want to go to cricket anymore, and they didn't want to go to taekwondo anymore, and they never wanted to go swim practice anymore. They just wanted to surf, and because as a parent you realize the value of organized sporting endeavor for a growing child, what it brings to them in terms of, you know, their development. So I didn't want them to leave out of other sports and come into surfing and lose what those other sports, organized sports, had to offer to them, you know. So I realized, well, I don't want to stop them from surfing. So the solution was to organize surfing and get it going so it would be on par with other organized sports, you know. So that's how we got this surfing association.
I think the JSA was needed because everything in the world needs structure. And the sport of surfing has been going on in Jamaica since the 50s or even the late 40s. I don't remember exactly when, but there's rumors of people surfing in Boston Bay. People used to come down on the banana boat on tour holidays, and they'd come down one year and see waves, because Boston Bay is a public beach, and they go to Boston Bay and see waves there, and then the next year they come back, they bring a surfboard and leave it with a local and teach that guy how to surf. You know, and there's actually a Jamaica travel book that my father had from like 1920 that actually says that go to Port Royal out by Gunboat Beach that is famous for surf bathing. So that go for show you says surfing kind of has been in Jamaica for a while, and without structure nothing will develop into a feasible kind of program or entity.
We have the misconception that surfing is a super fun hobby, and as long as there is water, there is surf. This unfortunately is not so. Surfing as a sport in Jamaica is not heavily recognized, and therefore there are many challenges surfers face, whether it may be internal or external factors.
Getting equipment really is probably the biggest challenge, you know, access to surfboards and leashes and all of the necessaries to engage in the sport. The fact that surfing is an expensive sport. It's an individual sport, it's not a team sport, so it's not like buy one football and 22 people have a game, you know what I mean? It's like you buy one surfboard, one person have a game. If you have 22 people, you need 22 surfboard. And then each person going to need about 2 or 3 each. So right away you can see it does multiply, and that's just 22 people, that's not a nation. So, and surfboards are relatively expensive. By the time you get a surfboard to Jamaica, it's looking at about, depending on whether it's brand new or second hand and the condition it's in, you're looking at anywhere from $300 to $1,000 US for a surfboard. So that's another challenge that we face, you know. Apart from that, getting corporate Jamaica to believe that surfing is real in Jamaica and a real option, and that there really are waves in Jamaica and there are surfers who can compete and perform at the top level of the game, in order to get support for them, because, you know, athletes need support if they choose to take on sport as a career, you know, and you need the support from corporate bodies. We would love, if not the entire corporate Jamaica, but even 1 or 2 companies, because it's not a big sport in terms of numbers of participants. So it wouldn't be hard for them to support it, you know, pick the top 5 surfers and, you know, put them picture up on a bag of chips or on a energy drink label, or, you know, some soap or whatever, you know what I mean? And give them a little change and use them as a, you know, as a representative in them commercials or shoot some, you know, help them out so that them can afford a couple more boards and get competitive out there. So that's another challenge, to try and attract that kind of support for the small group of professional surfers.
The main challenge in Jamaica for surfing is support. It's really hard to get support here. Local companies and local investors are not supporting the sport as much as they are interested in supporting other sports like football and athletics, because those are already well-established sports. But surfing has a really great potential, as Jamaica has amazing waves, like world-class waves all year long. So just that fact makes it really good for the country, and because of that we'll be able to like have an industry that kind of flourishes. And also the fact that anything that says Jamaica sell, so therefore once you put Jamaica and surfing, it's going to be probably the biggest thing in surfing in the world. So it's just a matter of people realizing that, hey, this makes sense, let's do it, and actually get more involved. And that way the association and even the surfers have more opportunities to pursue surfing and like form businesses that revolve around surfing and so on.
In Jamaica, sometimes, quite often, on the north coast, there's an understanding of the coast, the beach as being a valuable asset because it's connected to tourism. However, on the south coast, which is predominantly where we get much of the swell because of how it comes through from the Atlantic, it's looked like as a backyard. It's dumped on. It's not really held as prime real estate, and often when we come to a surf spot, for example, one of our early surf spots, which was behind Donald Quarry School, we called it Zoo. Before Diana Macaulay got involved with improving the sewage treatment plant up by Harbour View, it was basically this raw sewage was coming down into that area. So those are some of the environmental risks attached to the zones that are typically where there's a good point break or there's good swell action. So it's a health risk.
Globally, the recognition of surfing as a sport has grown tremendously, which can be seen with the inclusion of it in the 2020 Olympics. There is still, however, a long way to go for the sport in Jamaica.
Well, to get more recognition, we just have to keep slugging at it, you know. We just have to keep in the social media, keep sending out releases to the newspapers and to the radio stations, you know what I mean? Keep local events, try and publicize any local event, like we have our annual pro event that we usually have in the end of July, you know, we promote that and we get quite a turnout. And even though it seems like we are still fairly obscure as a sport in Jamaica, it's quite surprising about how many people now know about surfing, you know, and a lot of people now know about surfing in Jamaica as a result of the efforts we have made, you know. But then it's the only way you're going to get a real saturation of the sport is if it could take place everywhere. But surfing is, as I say, it's unlike other sports. You can't build a surf spot at the community center. A surfing location is a natural phenomenon of nature. You know what I mean? It's just because the ocean is the way it is and the reef is the way it is, or the underwater shape of the bottom and the way how the swells come towards the island, it just happened to break in such a way that surfing is possible at a number of locations around the coastline. So you can't really just reproduce those. So you have to go to where the waves break. So if you live in Mandeville in the center of the island, surfing is not going to be an easily accessed opportunity for you or choice to take. So these are, you know, that's another issue that we have. So it reduces the number of athletes involved in the sport. So in order to promote the sport, in order to support it, you don't have to support. If you were football, 22 people can play with one ball, but then you have to support 22 athletes. You know, in surfing, if you support the top 10 surfers on the island, you support like the best of the best, you know what I mean? And so there is ways for it to work. So these are the things we try to engage the corporate world, keep sending proposals to them, calling people, you know what I mean? But putting out the sound and people realizing that surfers need support is the most that we can do right now until it gets better.
I think the surfing community will benefit a lot better if and when we qualify for the Olympics, because that will help to make our sport be more visible to the entire world, you know, and the fact that Jamaica has really good surfers and really good waves and really good surfing, and it will just boost our industry, because then the eyes of the world will also be on Jamaica for surfing, and then there'll be a lot more investors and a lot more people traveling to Jamaica for surfing, and you know, people taking Jamaican surfers and pushing them internationally to kind of boost markets for specific companies and brands and so on.
The JSA has truly revolutionized the sport in Jamaica, making it a hobby for some people and even an extreme professional sport for others.
Surfing is accessible to anyone and everyone, and I would encourage it, especially, I mean, all age groups. It doesn't matter what age you are, and both genders or whatever other gender you might be. I think that it's a way of being in touch with Mother Nature. It's a way of leaving the land and leaving the issues of the land and actually kind of becoming in sync with the patterns of nature. And it's a beautiful experience if you can ever get to that point. So I, encourage everybody to come out and catch a wave.
Everybody should come out and catch a wave, you know?
Hey, me jaja, yeah, skanking, grooving. the pressures of your life and it tough. No stay down, mama, time pick it up. No bother with the down, full style, strictly up, full vibes. Now pick it up when the bills, them, the rent and the mortgage due.